that. Let's give Judge Kim Alexander a wonderful trailblazer hand. As you see next on your agenda, we're going to talk about compliance. State agencies, we hear about it, we're going to talk about it. Lester Collins is the executive director of the Council on Black Minnesotans, who had an unfortunate accident this morning. So in his stead, we have the capable Roger Banks, who's going to come up and fill in. And there's a sheet of paper, there's a handout. We have a handout that he's going to have passed around, and we want to take care of that as soon as possible. So come on and let's welcome Roger Banks, if you will help me out. And as Roger's coming, it's good to see Councilmember Diane Halstead. Did I miss any other electeds that came in? Who's over there? Oh, the City Council President. I'm waiting for it. Barb Johnson, come in a little more so we can see the Council President. Barb Johnson. Did I miss anyone? Cam Gordon. Come on, let's give Cam a hand. And we're going to also recognize Superintendent Bernadette Johnson. Oh, there she is. Let's give her a hand. All right, we're going to keep going along, and if there's someone else I missed, I'll make sure I get to him. Roger Banks. Oh, Sandra. Corduroy? There it is. Sandy. Where is she? All right, let's give her a hand. Okay. Oh, there you go. Okay. Sorry about that. Roger Banks. Here we go.
Thank you very much. Gotcha. In fact, the comments that I prepared for this event for Lester don't seem to be necessary. His charge was to look at where we are, and we all know where we are, okay? We know that across the board, in every substantive issue area, housing, education, criminal justice, health, etc., that we lead the nation in Minnesota in many of these cases, i.e. at least in the top 10, sometimes at the top part of that particular agenda. The Council for Minnesota Black Minnesotans was created in 1980 for the purpose of advising the government and working toward resolving and addressing the issues impacting African Americans and Africans. One of the things that I'd like to indicate, this is going to be a very short presentation, that the presentation will have 3 particular points, and that is a brief overall summary of the level of unemployment and other economic statuses of status indicators among Black Minnesotans, a brief segment of how Black Minnesotans have shared in the employment and economic opportunities made available through state largesse and through resources and opportunities. And then finally, a set of recommendations. You know, much of the data that pertains to this particular issue was related by Sister Libby Powers, and that is that in order to effectively resolve this issue as it pertains to working towards economic development and economic improvement, it has to be an integrated approach, okay? It has to be an approach that takes into consideration and works with organizations and individuals from other substantive areas, i.e. those that I just previously mentioned. And so, what I'd like to state also, and this is a pet peeve of the Council, and that is that even without the benefit of accurate, reliable, and systematic data or information, Black residents of Minnesota are acutely aware of the economic conditions that have faced them for years and years and years. I came to Minnesota with the idea that this was a few years ago. And idea was that Minnesota, particularly Minneapolis, was in a position to deal with problems affecting African Americans. Okay? Effectively. That is not the case. In fact, since I've been here, there has been a deterioration of the status of blacks in Minnesota. That while we have on the books a whole range of pieces of legislation and policies, etc., the extent to which those pieces of paper are enforced are extremely limited. We have a situation where, for example, we have affirmative action reports that are supposed to be submitted by the state agencies. Unfortunately, most of those reports focus on process and organizational behavior and not on outcomes. There are no reports, with the exception of maybe the DHS department, that gives you any indication as to the extent to which blacks and other minorities, populations of color, etc., are benefiting from the programs offered by that particular department. So what I'm saying in essence is that we have a situation where we do not know what the hell we're doing, and we don't know what we're doing because we don't have the accurate information that will allow us to determine what we are doing and how we can improve what we are doing. Okay? And so what I say essentially is that before we can really move forward and deal with any substantive issue area, even the issue of economic status and working towards prosperity, etc., we have to know the extent of our prosperity and the extent to which we have shared or not shared in the largesse of the resources of the state. We just do not know that. And when we ask for that information, it's not forthcoming. Okay? There is what could I say? There's not a focus on transparency at all. There's not a focus on really providing individuals with the truth about instances of poverty or unemployment or these kinds of things. Mr. First at the Star and Tribune provided an article that really highlighted today what the status is. That is our unemployment rate relative to the white unemployment rate. And what we find essentially is that we continue to fall further and further behind. All right? And that what we need to do is to focus on trying to ensure that laws do mean something. That there is a high level of accountability and that there is equity in terms of the way that the resources are distributed. Because without those kind of commitments to those values, the prospects of us resolving this issue in an effective fashion is extremely small. I won't go into the recommendations that they're on the sheet that you have, but what I'd like to say about those is that the recommendations on my sheet are the sort of some of the consolidated recommendations that were made by individuals that other individuals who have made presentations thus far today. So what I'd like to say to you is that this is just a beginning, and that if we are going to have an effective impact on the issues, we must, first of all, come together and realize the magnitude, the drastic magnitude, the extent to which situations for African and African Americans have gotten worse, 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 and worse. So here you go, Bobby.